Welcome back. In this lecture, we'll cover forecasting cash flows. We know that for discounted cash flow analysis, we need the estimation of future cash flows. Estimation of future cash flows are also required to find out farm value. To find out the farm value for investors or shareholder, analysts first of all need to find out farm's cash flows which will be generated in future. So we need to forecast cash flows over the farm's expected life. To predict cash flows which will be generated in future, we need to depend on the following matters. First of all, we need to consider size or maturity of the farm. For a new farm and for a mature farm, predictability of cash flows will not be same. Then we also need to look at the competition. A farm which is operating in a competitive sector and farm which is operating almost without any competition, predictability of cash flows are not same. For example, predictability of cash flows for Microsoft and predictability of cash flows for a small software farm which has many competitors are not same. Then we also need to look at the farm's current growth rate. Estimation of future earning depends on its past cash flows as well. So past is a guide to the future, but depending on the past will not work for new investment projects which has very poor historical guide. However, past could be a very good guide for large established corporation like Microsoft, which is a large established corporation. We can look at its past and forecast the future. But for a new investment which doesn't have a reasonable past information should not be a good guide to forecast future earnings. Similarly, farms which are growing really rapidly, we should not use past growth as a good guide to forecast its future earnings. So here is a forecast of dividend payments of Kellogg's. If we look at the trend line of dividend payments of Kellogg's, we can see that this trend line is upward sloping. So by looking at the trend line which is blue, we can easily forecast its future dividend payment which is denoted by the red line. So corporations like Kellogg's which has a stable growth in their dividend payment over the past, by looking at the stable growth rate of dividend payments, we can easily forecast the Kellogg's future dividend payments. Estimation of future earnings also depend on quality of analyst earning forecast over simple historical exploration, and this simple historical exploration also depends on interpretation of historical information. So how the farm has passed in future, its environmental information like competition, consumer confidence survey and macroeconomics news. Currently we know that all farms are suffering due to the pandemic, but the pandemic is also helping IT farms because most organizations are most organizations around the world nowadays are depending more on IT to run their operation smoothly during this pandemic. So though the pandemic is affecting most business organizations, but IT firms are out of this. Finally, analysts also need to use private information. But when analysts will use private information, they need to be extremely careful because private information only belongs to the internal management and it is illegal for them to disclose the private information. So therefore, private information over here means all the information which are provided by the firm publicly.